Welcome to Grant Writing Made Clear. The truth is, the grant writing process isn't always clear, but with the right guidance, proven actionable strategies, and expert insights, the process becomes easier, simpler, and yes, clearer. I am Dr. Trenette, your host of Grant Writing Made Clear, and a former nonprofit president turned distinguished professor and behavioral scientist with 2 decades of grant writing experience. I remember what it was like to be a busy nonprofit leader with little time but big financial sustainability concerns. Over the years, I have transformed my skills from securing $1,000 foundation grants to winning multi-million-dollar federal grants. I created this podcast in response to the grant writing coaching requests I've received from nonprofit leaders, entrepreneurs, and professors over the years. Join me each week as I reveal insider strategies and share key lessons that turn wishful thinking into winning applications. Pull up a seat and get ready to be inspired, empowered, and transformed. Whether you're a beginner or a pro looking to sharpen your skills and create a life you love, you're in the right place, my friend. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to Grant Writing Made Clear, where your impact is my purpose. I am your host, Dr. Trenette. Today we are going to talk about setting goals for 2026. I want us to take a breath and remember that the most important goals are not always about what we produce. In my opinion, they are about who we become while we are producing. It is easy to set goals like lose weight, walk more, eat healthier, write more, submit more, earn more. But this year, let us also consider goals like forgiving more, taking things less personally, being slower to self-criticize, being quicker to rest, being more present with the people we love. Because when our inner life is steady and focused and centered, our work becomes clearer. And when our work is clear, we can take the next right step without carrying the emotional weight that made last year heavier than it needs to be. So I really want us to take some time to think about who we are and who we will become. And so after we've done that, I want us to begin to think about our other goals. And I think it's important that we use our 2025 experience to inform our 2026 goals and plans. I don't want us to do the new year, new goals, go harder approach this year, because if we rush into goal setting without understanding what drained us last year, we end up recreating the same stress. We end up recreating the same challenges, just with a new year. For many of us, we don't want an exact repeat of 2025. I know I don't. I think for many of us, we want to grow each year. We want to be better each year. And so before we talk about our goals, I want us to pause and reflect. And not a surface level reflection like I was busy, because we were all busy last year. I want us to consider deeper experiences, deeper patterns, the habits, expectations, the pressures and the cycles that quietly pulled our energy, that quietly distracted us, that quietly chipped away at our confidence. If we don't name what made 2025 heavier than what we would like, we will carry it. We will carry those experiences into 2026. So I want us to start with a moment of truth, and this may not be easy for all of us, because 2025 may have had some painful experiences, and I acknowledge that. And this is not meant to be a beat-up session. This is meant to be a reset session. So I do want us to have the courage to reflect on 2025 recognizing that it's meant to help us reset, get stronger, and grow. So I want us to really start at what I would probably call ground zero, which is identifying what drained us in 2025, what hindered us in 2025. And I think that there are a few questions we can ask to get to the bottom of it. One of those questions is, what consistently drained our energy in 2025? Not necessarily one-time events, like planning someone's wedding shower, not the random meeting, but I'm really wanting you to think about repeated patterns that drained you. For example, for many of us, one of those patterns is overcommitting. And I see this, I think I see it now more than ever. Many of us are overcommitting for whatever reason. Maybe it's because you want the promotion. Maybe it's because you want this new leadership position. Maybe it's because you're on the tenure track. Whatever it is, many of us are overcommitting, and then we resent what we agreed to. That's a pattern. That's a pattern that I want you to consider today. Maybe for someone else, the pattern is saying yes out of guilt, maybe out of fear, or maybe simply because you're still dealing with people pleasing. That's a pattern. Saying yes, we talked about this. Saying yes when you don't want to really means saying no to yourself. You're saying no to yourself. You're saying no to your purpose. You're saying no to your mission. So I want us to reflect on that. For some of us, maybe it's living in reaction mode, always responding to something, always being reactive, not proactive. That can drain us. That can hinder us. Maybe for some of us, it's perfectionism, trying to be perfect in every role, in every project. And maybe that brings you a sense of pride to know that you've done an amazing job on whatever you're working on. But that can drain you. Perfectionism can drain you. And it can challenge you, because if you're being perfect, which I don't believe exists, but if you're trying to be perfect, more than likely, there are other things you're not getting done. And so yes, you're doing this one or two things really well, but 10 other things that are expected are not getting done. Or they're getting done at the last minute. Maybe some of us have been challenged with procrastination. Some of us, as we think about what drained us, and this speaks to me, really, as I was thinking about my own team, one of the things right now is doing important work without enough support. Some of us, you do an amazing job at what you do, but you don't have the support you need. You don't have the infrastructure you need. That is draining. For some of us, it's not things that we are doing, like trying to be perfect or procrastinating or being reactive. For some of us, guess what? It's the people around us. It's the environment we're in that's consuming our energy. I think that's real. For some of us, it's not us being reactive, being perfect, not having the resources we need. But for some of us, it's the people around us. It's the environment we're in that is draining us. Some of us hate to go to certain meetings. We hate to go to certain meetings. I've heard people say that their stomach just knots up when they know they have to walk into a certain meeting. That's draining. That's unhealthy. So I want you to take a moment to think about what drained you in 2025. Write it down. Let's journal today. So write it down. And then I want you to think about what distracted you in 2025. What stole your focus? For some of us, it's constant email checking. Some of us check email like it's a competitive sport. We have to be the first to respond. We have to respond within 2 hours. If you're constantly checking email, when do you do your work? You're not doing your best work, more than likely, if you're constantly replying to every email you get. For some of us, what distracts us is trying to multitask, and that's the truth. Some of us are multitasking instead of focusing on one project at a time. And I know many of us don't have the privilege to work on a single project at a time. I understand that. But for some of us who have the flexibility and the autonomy over our work, You could choose not to multitask as much as you do. So for some of us, it's multitasking. For some of us, it's what we talked about last episode, no protected writing time. You have not blocked out writing time in your calendar. For some of us, it's comparison. It's looking at other people. It's looking at the other colleague to see how well they're doing. It's looking at the other collaborator when you hear that they just got a grant and you haven't got your first grant, or you haven't got your big grant. Comparison. And then that can turn into imposter syndrome. That can turn into maybe I'm not good enough. That has all kinds of impact. And the final question I want you to ask as you think about 2025 is, what challenged our confidence in 2025? Because for some of us, confidence is a challenge, and confidence affects everything, including how boldly we pursue funding. Because confidence sometimes shows up as harsh self-talk. Sometimes it shows up as a rejection from a funder, from a journal, from an organization that we personalize. And it eats away at us because maybe we're ruminating. For some of us, what is chipping away at our confidence is being in an environment where we are not affirmed or supported, or even worse. Sometimes, I've said in the past that sometimes it's not that we need you to affirm us. Sometimes we just need you not to attack us, right? So sometimes what's challenging our confidence is our environments. It's the people around us. For some of us, maybe you don't have the right mentorship, and that is chipping away at your confidence because you don't have someone who's rooting you on. Mentorship is so important. I talk about that. I'm so grateful for my mentors that I've had over the years. And not all of them have cheered me on, to be honest with you. And when that happens, I usually part ways. I don't need you to be a cheerleader, but I don't need you to be overly critical, right? I don't need you to be harsh. And so you have to think about the kind of mentor you want. Again, I don't need you to be a cheerleader. If you are one, that's great. But if you're not, I do need you to provide helpful feedback. And feedback that is unnecessarily harsh is not helpful. So for some of you, what's challenging your confidence is either not having mentorship or having mentorship whose feedback is unnecessarily harsh. I mentor a student at a different university, and the student was sharing with me her experiences with her mentor. And I promise you, I could not believe my ears. I could not believe the way that this mentor talks to her. Could not believe it. And the student told me the word on the street is her mentor is the best mentor in the whole department. That's a problem. That's a problem. When we normalize having a mentor who is unnecessarily harsh, that breaks us down over time. And for some of us, what's challenging our confidence is being in the wrong environment, including our mentors. For some of us, it's feeling isolated, like we have to carry everything alone. I know that feeling. That can chip away at you. Feeling isolated. That's when you need to go and find community. And I hope that this podcast will help do that for some of you. I hope that the Facebook group we're trying to cultivate will help do that. Community is important. Feeling isolated can chip away at your confidence. And so now that you've answered all those three questions, here's the important part. We're not doing this to judge ourselves. We're doing it to understand ourselves. We're collecting information, not collecting shame, but we're collecting data so that we can understand what happened in 2025. The goal is not to criticize 2025. The goal is to learn from it so we can move forward with more wisdom and more peace. It's important that we take a moment to reflect on what happened in 2025, the good and the bad, the good and the not so good, so that we can learn from it and it inform our 2026. For those of us who are researchers, we know, and even those of us who are not, if you are writing a grant application, one of the very first steps in writing a good grant application is what? It's a needs assessment. We start with a needs assessment. We start with understanding. That's what I'm asking you here. I'm asking you to reflect on 2025 so you can understand what happened, and then we can build from it. We can build from it. And so we're not just welcoming 2026 as a typical new year. We're thinking about how we can realign. Because sometimes we think the problem is that we did not try hard enough. But I find that often the problem is not that we did not try hard enough, but that our habits did not match our values, right? For many of us, we value family. But sometimes, although we might value family, we build schedules that leave very little for our family. We might value health, but we build schedules that do not allow us to practice healthy behaviors. Our schedules eat into our workout time. Our schedules eat into our ability to go to the doctor. Some of us are so busy that we have to cancel our doctor's appointment so that we can work. Some of us can't get a full 8 hours sleep at night because we're up working. We might value excellence, but we say yes to work that do not align with our purpose. So before we write our goals, I want us to check alignment. Are we saying we value one particular thing, but our habits are suggesting something different? And I want to say this gently, but I would be remiss if I didn't say it, that for some of us, as we think about what happened in 2025, as we think about what happened in 2024 and 2023 and previous years, we may find that it's not simply a new planner that we need support. And that support might come in the form of a therapist. It might come in the form of more time with God. It might come in the form of a good church community. It might come in the form of a mentor or a coach. It might come in the form of friends who help us laugh and breathe again. It might be a hobby that reminds us that we are more than our productivity. Some of us, again, we're going to think about this and realize, wait, my habits, my activities do not align with my values. So what do I need to do? I need to find a good therapist. I need to spend more time with my friends, or I need to create new friendships. I need to find a new hobby. And let me just talk about the hobby. For some of us who are super busy, we need a hobby, but we don't need a hobby that is taxing. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she just talked about wanting a hobby that she didn't have to plan for, wanting a hobby that she could just go and do, right? So not necessarily a book club. The book club, you have to be there once per month on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And for some people, that will be taxing, knowing that they have to be somewhere at 7 p.m. And if that is you, if you don't want that restriction, then your hobby should maybe be something that doesn't require a schedule. You can do it as you feel led. Maybe it's baking. Maybe it's doing puzzles. Maybe it's doing art. Maybe it's reading, journaling, whatever it is. Make sure your hobby isn't taxing, isn't stressful. And I do want to say, as we restructure and realign our lives, I want you to know that needing support does not mean that we are failing. It means we are wise enough to stop trying to carry everything alone. I don't believe that support is a luxury. Some people will have you think that support is a luxury. I believe that support is a strategy. It's a strategy to wellness. And so I do want you to take time to think about the support you would like in 2026. And then after you think about that support, I want you to go after it. Create it. Find it. And so once we have named what has drained us, what has hindered us, we are ready to reset with intention. And so I want you to take all these thoughts that are swirling around in your head and put it somewhere tangible. Put it on a piece of paper. Put it in your notes app, a notebook, whatever works for you. I want you to take it from your mind and put it somewhere tangible. Every task, every deadline, every lingering worry, every I should have, I should be, every I forgot, every I need to follow up, I want you to take it all out and write it down. So our minds are brilliant for ideas, but they're not built to be storage units. When we try to hold everything in our head, we start ruminating. We start replaying the same worries and living in mental clutter. And so I want you to clean it out like you clean your kitchen counter, right? The house is not quite spotless until you've cleaned really well. And so I want you to clean really well. And when when the house is really clean, you feel better. You feel better. Now you're ready to cook now because the house is clean. So I want you to do a mind sweep and get some of this out of your thoughts, and let's get it on paper. Because we are resetting with intention. For example, if one of your patterns was overcommitting, that should show up somewhere on this paper. Some of us are saying yes to things that we don't have the grace for. We want this list to not just be a list, but to be insight. And so after you have taken the time to think about 2025 and you've written some of this down, I want you to make a list of 10 goals. Make a list of 10 goals for 2026. Now, you won't do all 10, but we do want to see what's competing for our attention. So I want you to write down 10 goals for this year. Listen, I did this. I promise you, I did this activity myself. Write down 10 goals, and then I want you to look at the 10 goals and choose one goal to focus on this year. One goal. And choosing one goal is not giving up on the other goals. It is choosing what gets our best energy. And as you're doing this, I want you to think about which goal will move me forward without repeating what drained me. Because sometimes we can set a goal that looks impressive, but it's built on the same patterns that exhausted us. So for example, I talked about this a bit earlier. Some of us would love to have the goal of submitting 3 grants this year or 5 grants this year. But if 2025 drained you because you were already overextended and you submitted a large number of grants, having a similar goal in 2026 may recreate the same outcomes. So a more aligned goal, when you think about your values and what you really want, might be, instead of submitting 3 grants in 2026 or submitting 5 grants in 2026, maybe a better goal is submit one strong grant. And that strong grant, because it is well done, will increase your odds of getting funded. I believe in quality over quantity. Some of us are submitting too many grants. And so you're doing a little bit on this one, a little bit on that, a little bit on this one, which really ends up being mediocre instead of focusing on one and doing it very, very well. And so you end up submitting 3 mediocre grants, don't get any of them, when you would have had a better chance had you submitted 1 grant. And not only would you have had a better chance, you would have had more time for the values that you have, such as your family, such as working out, being healthy. So we want to think about, on this list of 10 goals, what's the one goal that we really want to focus on this year? And then we want to make sure that the goal will lead to impact and not burnout. Because we don't want to repeat what happened last year. After you have your one goal, and I promise you, you'll be surprised. So it doesn't have to be the typical goals that you're thinking about. But you write down all of your goals, choose one. Make sure it's aligned with your values. After you've done that, our next step is to turn the goal into strategies. We want to build strategies that support the goal we have decided on. So I want you to sit down and think about how you will achieve your goal. And some of these strategies can be micro strategies. They can be tiny things. So for example, let's say you do decide that you're going to submit one strong grant, maybe an R01, R21. Some of those micro goals or micro strategies that would lead up to this overall goal is drafting 1 paragraph per week, writing for 10 minutes per day. So we're going to include strategies to get us there, including micro habits. Because the tiny habits are how we build consistency without needing perfect conditions. They're like putting a corn in a jar every day. It seems small until one day you pick up the jar and realize it has weight. So let's write out our strategies, including micro strategies. Next, I want you to work 1 quarter at a time. And you may have heard others who are talking about doing this. And I do think this is a really good idea. And so instead of you trying to win 2026, we focus on 1 month at a time or 1 quarter at a time. So you have your overall 2026 goal, and then you break it down into quarters or months, your choice. And I don't think that this kind of thinking means you're going to be moving slowly. I think it helps you to move more sustainably. And I think this next step, which is my final step for you as you develop your goals for 2026, is to make a reset plan for when we fall off the boat. Let's just talk about it. Something no one puts on their vision board is falling off the boat. At some point, a week will go sideways. You know, I talk about this when I talk to my team about grant writing. We always plan for extra time. We plan for the unexpected because something will not go according to plan. Family will need to come visit for a while. Someone will get sick. A deadline will pile on. A new project will happen that you did not anticipate. Something will happen. So we plan for it. We plan for a reset. And so I want you to build in a reset now before it happens because we want to stop being reactive. We want to be proactive. A reset plan is part of being proactive. So an example of what a reset plan might look like is you deciding that if you miss one of your writing blocks in your calendar, you will schedule a new one within 2 business days. Maybe a reset plan is calling an accountability buddy and having a quick conversation with them. I told you all a while back that when I started on the teen track in 2010, I knew I wanted to be successful. And so what did I do? I started an accountability group. I had been in the CSWE Minority Fellowship Program, and I knew a lot of people because of that. And so I reached out to a few of my friends, 4 of them to be exact, and I created an accountability group. And we started off meeting weekly, and at some point it became bi-weekly, and ultimately it became monthly. But in the beginning, we would meet every week, and I believe it was Mondays. We would meet every Monday for an hour. And that accountability was helpful for me because when things happened, as they will, I was able to say, I didn't meet my goal because of this, and my accountability partners were able to help me reset and ensure that I met my goals the next week. So think about an accountability goal. Think about a reset plan that will work for you. And it's important because a reset plan keeps one off week from turning into a lost season. You know, for some of us who try to live healthy, sometimes, for me, I'll say, when I go on vacation, it's hard to continue to practice all the healthy behaviors, right? And so you can fall off the boat. And before you know it, that one vacation week has become 6 months. The reset plan helps you be proactive in thinking about what happens when you fall off the boat. If you fall off the boat. Maybe some of you say you don't fall off. That hasn't been my story. My story is something happens. Someone gets sick. My supervisor asked me to do a new task. Something happens and it sets me back. A reset plan helps me to get back on track quickly. And I want to share this story as we think about setting our goals for 2026. I want to share the story that I heard Travis Green share, because it's one of those lessons that has really stuck with me. And if you don't know Travis Green, go look him up. He said he misunderstood football. He thought the point of football was to get a touchdown. He thought every play should result in a touchdown. And at first, that sounds reasonable, right? Because touchdowns are the exciting part, and it seems like that is what you're supposed to do, get a touchdown every single time. Because touchdowns are what get celebrated. Touchdowns are what make people scream, right? But then Travis said that he realized the actual goal of football is not a touchdown every play, but the goal of football is a first down. The goal is to move the ball 10 yards at a time. The goal is to run the play that gets you closer to a touchdown. And he realized that if you string together enough first downs, you will eventually end up in the end zone. So touchdowns are the result of consistent movement, not constant dramatic wins. And I want to sit right here for a second, because grant writing is the same. So many of us live touchdown driven. We tell ourselves, if I cannot write the whole proposal this month, then I should not even start. If I cannot submit something big, then what am I doing at all? If I'm not funded right now, then I have failed. If I'm not moving fast enough, then I'm falling behind. That touchdown thinking creates unnecessary frustration. So I want you to consider in 2026 that our goal is not a touchdown. That's the ultimate goal, but that's not the play. And so maybe that first down is scheduling a meeting with a partner, drafting a clear problem statement, writing a strong significance section, outlining the aims in a way that is thoughtful and makes sense, getting feedback early in the process. Maybe it's developing a budget that is thoughtful and error-free. Maybe it's creating a writing rhythm that you can be consistent with. None of these are touchdown behaviors, but they move the ball forward. So I want you to think about touchdowns in grant writing as the submission, as the award, maybe the publication. We're going to run our plays. Our plays are the strategies that we've just developed. We're going to run our plays with the goal of moving the ball forward bit by bit. And we're going to celebrate moving the ball forward with the goal being what? Submitting the grant proposal. With the goal being what? Receiving the grant. Touchdowns are wonderful, but we cannot treat every play like it has to be the touchdown, because if we do, we will view consistent progress as failure, and it is not. It is not. So when you're setting your goal for the year, you're not just asking, what is my touchdown this year? And I do want you to think about that. What is my touchdown this year? But I also want you to think about, what are my first downs? What is the next play? And when we run the play, let's be grateful for the forward motion. It doesn't have to be fireworks every day. It doesn't have to be touchdowns every day. So I want you to think about this year in that way, that we are not looking for a touchdown every day. We're looking for a first down. We're looking for a first down. And we're grateful for that forward movement. And I just want to take a moment to let you know that you are allowed to build a different 2026 than you experienced in 2025. You are allowed to build a lighter year, a softer year. You are allowed to build a wiser year. But we cannot build a different year with the same patterns. So if 2025 taught us that we needed stronger boundaries, we do want to honor that. If it taught us that we needed support, we want to honor and pursue that. If it taught us that we need healing, let's prioritize it. If it taught us that we need more time with God, we make space for that. Because I'm going to tell you, the secret sauce for my life has been God. That's the secret sauce. And so if 2025 taught you anything that is wise, I want you to continue to pursue that in 2026. You only want to shift the things that need to be shifted. And I also want to share this. Growth is not only measured by what we achieve. We love to think about growth as what we achieve, right? But I believe that growth is, yes, measured by what we achieve, but growth is also measured by what we stop carrying. Growth is also measured by what we stop carrying. Sometimes the most powerful thing we do in 2026 is not adding another goal. It is releasing an expectation that was never ours to hold. I have a colleague and a friend who sometimes will have conversations with me, and she says, Trenette, do you believe that is yours to hold? Do you believe that is yours to carry? Because there are things, I believe that to whom much is given, much is required. And so there are a lot of things that I carry. And sometimes this friend will stop me and ask, do you believe that is yours to carry? Do you believe that is yours to hold? And so I want to submit to you that maybe 2026 Maybe your goals will be similar to 2025, but maybe it includes taking some things off the list. Maybe your goal will be very similar, but you're removing a few goals. And I want to submit that that could be growth for you. So maybe you're thinking about not only what will my goals be this year, but also what are not my goals this year. And I want you to know we don't have to race our way to impact. We don't have to sprint our way to impact. We can move with wisdom. We can move with intentionality. We can take first downs. We can build momentum. And how do we do it? We do it by showing up consistently. Not perfectly, but consistently. And I want you to hear it if you don't hear it from anyone else. I want you to know that I believe your work matters. Your well-being matters. And your purpose matters. And I don't think it requires burnout. If you are in a place of burnout, this is even more reason for you to reflect on 2025. Because I don't think achieving your purpose requires burnout. I don't think having well-being requires burnout. So as we wrap up, here's some homework for the week. I do want you to identify what drained you in 2025, and I want you to name the patterns you see. I do want you to do a mind sweep. Get the things in your mind out and on paper, in your notes app, and I want you to circle patterns that you see. I do want you to write 10 goals and choose one goal that will be your primary focus. I do want you to develop strategies for achieving that one goal, including tiny habits. And I do want you to write your reset plan. And if you want community as you do this, join us in my private Facebook group. It's called Grant Writing Made Clear. Join us there. Share your one goal. Share your strategies. Share your tiny habits. And share your first down for January. Share your first down. We will encourage you over there, and we will keep it real. Come help us build community. Come help us build community. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. And as always, keep showing up. Your impact is needed. Take good care, my friend. Thank you for listening to Grant Writing Made Clear. I hope today's episode gave you inspiration, confidence, and clear information that you can turn into action. Remember, you are not alone. There's a whole community here striving for the same impact. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a quick review to help more people find the show, and share this episode with others in your network. It really does make a difference. For more grant writing tips and resources, follow me on social media. Until next time, keep showing up, keep learning, and remain determined. I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye for now.